Hello FPL managers and welcome back to another video from myself, Will, and fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. In this video it's going to be a little bit different to my usual team reveals. We're going to be going over everything to do with double game weeks. That's going to be having a look at double game week 24, 25, 26, possibly 27, 28 and blank game week 29 as well. So we've got a lot to cover. Some of those game weeks are confirmed, some of them are likely to happen, but are not confirmed yet. So yeah, we're going to be having a look at all of that, having a look at the teams to target, having a look at the players to target as well. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is an overview of the possible blank and double games all the way from 24 to 29. Now we're going to go into more detail, looking at the teams you should target for the upcoming game weeks, but I do think it is useful to just have this overview. Before we do jump into it and explain exactly what it is, shout out to Ben Crellin for creating this. This is all his work. Go follow him on Twitter if you're not already. I've also got to say, I know that loads and loads of you are already using his transfer planner, but it is built for this situation. So if you're one of the few that aren't already using his transfer planner, then I would highly, highly recommend giving it a shot. Again, it is a Fantasy Football Hub member resource, but if you are interested in that, I'll leave a link to it in the description. As I said, it's built for situations like this and mapping out your transfers, who you're going to transfer in, when you're going to transfer them in. Really good way of visualizing your tool. But just going back to this graphic here, and again, I've showed this in previous videos, but if you're first time watcher, then it's got the teams down the left. So it's got Manchester City starting at the top. It's got the game weeks across the top there. So Manchester City, for example, have a double game week in 24 against Tottenham and Everton. Then in 25 they play Arsenal, etc., etc. And so it's just a really good way of looking at the upcoming blank and double game weeks. And if you want to pause the video and sort of take all that in, then feel free to do that. What I would say though is that looking at the overall picture is really, really important, and certainly for chip strategy. I'm not going to go into any great detail around chip strategy, but I do think it is important to mention and think about when you're going to play different chips. And again, I've got to stress each team is different. There have been lots of different chip strategies that people have taken up to this point, which means that people have lots of different chips left. So I'm not going to go into huge detail around that. But what I would say is that 26 is looking like the biggest double game week. Well, it is going to be the biggest double game week, and 29 is going to be a big blank game week. So those are the two periods where you're going to be looking to use your chips. So in 26, you're going to use your Double Captain and Bench Boost. I think those are the two chips that are likely to be played during that period. In game week 29, that's when you're going to be using, your free hit if you still have it, or potentially using your wild card to actually wildcard after game week 29. So use your transfers up to game week 29 and get a good team for that. And then to get rid of all the rubbish, for want of a better word, then you play your wild card in game week 30 and set your team up for the rest of the season. Or you could play your wild card in 25 and set yourself up for a big double game week in game week 26. So those are two options with the wild card, I think, for those that still have it. And again, looking to play a bench boost if you still have it, probably in game week 26. Well, hopefully that gives you some idea when you should play your chips. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail around that. If you do want that, then yeah, maybe let me know in the comments that you would like to see a video focusing purely on chip strategy, and potentially I could look at looking through all the possible permutations around that. It would be quite a difficult video to do, but yeah, let me know if you're interested in that. Okay, so this is the same graphic. We're just having a little bit of a closer look at game week 24 to game week 27. And as you can see, Manchester City, they have double game week in 24, confirmed double game week. They've got a likely double game week in 26 and a likely double game week in 27. So, and all of those double game weeks are good double game weeks as well. I know 24, Tottenham at home, Everton away isn't brilliant, but then 26 and 27 looking pretty favourable. Sandwich in between that, they do have Arsenal away, but overall, really, really strong fixtures for Manchester City. Obviously, they're banging form top of the league. In terms of what Manchester City's players to get, so this is the last 6 game weeks sorted by shots. And as you see, Gundogan coming out on top there. I do think that, given his price point and given the fact that he's in form, given the fact that he's taken the most shots for Manchester City over the last 6 game weeks, I think that he's probably, the number one target to get at the moment. So if you don't have him, I think that you should look at ways of getting Gundogan into your team. Obviously, Manchester City have a lot of different options, but I do think that he's probably the main pick at the moment. There are other options certainly in midfield. You could look at Sterling, and also do like the look of Foden. But I just think that, Gundogan, he's probably the prime pick at the moment. Obviously, Foden banging form, but it's just those minutes. If you sort by minutes here, you can see that Foden comes a lot further down the bottom. Just because he played really well against Liverpool doesn't sort of guarantee him. Everyone knows what Pep's like. He could easily be benched the next game. So that's the risk you take with Foden. But of course, he's got some pretty good upside, so you can certainly look at going that way. Obviously, Sterling, he seems to be playing pretty well at the moment. And I think that he is a good shout. Obviously, he comes in a lot more expensive. In terms of players, the defenders that you should look at, for me, I think Cancelo is the number one target here. I know that his minutes aren't as confirmed as the likes of Diaz, the likes of Stones, but I do just think that this is sorted by overall shots for all Manchester City players, and Cancelo coming in third there. That's compared to all of their forwards. He's ahead of the likes of Jesus, ahead of the likes of Foden, ahead of the likes of Mahrez, Bernardo Silva for shots over the last 6 game weeks. So he's just got a lot of different point scoring routes. I know that he's not nailed on, but I still think that given his attacking potential, he is worth that slight risk. The next player that I would look at is Diaz, mainly because he is nailed on. And I think that he's a great option. So for me, the top 3 players are probably, in order, are probably Gundogan, Cancelo and Diaz. Those are 3 that I own, and those are 3 that I would probably recommend going. Jumping that back to this graphic again, and I think Everton are a team that you do want to target. They've got a pretty good double game week coming up against Fulham and Manchester City. Obviously, the Fulham is a good fixture there, and Man City is obviously going to be pretty difficult. But then they've got a possible double game week in 25, although it's unlikely, and a possible double game week again in 27, and a likely double game week in 26. So they've got a lot of fixtures coming up. So for me, I think the main asset to target is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Just because he is spearheading that attack, and you compare him to somebody like Richarlison here, and there's just not much of a comparison. He sort of blows Richarlison out of the water in terms of numbers. He's spearheading the Everton attack, and he's obviously got his goal last game. He looks like he could come back into form, and I think that if Everton score, then Dominic Calvert-Lewin is likely to be involved. So he's a player that I'm looking to transfer into my team, and I think he's a little bit of a no-brainer pick given the upcoming fixtures for Everton. The other player that I really do like the look of is Luca Dean. Now, this table is sorted over the last 6 game weeks for all defenders, and we're looking at total crosses here. And as you see, for all defenders, Luca Dean coming in second. Ordinarily, I probably wouldn't be looking to transfer him if Everton didn't have the upcoming double game weeks, but I do think given the amount of fixtures that they could play over the next few game weeks, I do think that Luca Dean is a really good option. And, he's traditionally a very attacking fullback. He likes to put in crosses. He's on a few set pieces. He might get the odd clean sheet as well. So I think that he's a pretty strong option, actually. And, he's a player that I've had previously, and I like him because he has got those multiple point scoring routes. So, I think that for me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is probably the number 1 player to target from Everton, but Luca Dean a close second. Moving on to Burnley, and I think the prime pick here is Nick Pope. Unfortunately for me personally, he's a little bit difficult to bring into my team, but I think that he's one of the main picks that you should be targeting, not just from Burnley, but for all double game week players. And that's really because Burnley are pretty good at keeping clean sheets for 1. 2, they've got really good fixtures. And again, they've got a double game week in 24. They've got a likely double game week in 26. They've also, sandwiched between that, they've got a really nice fixture against West Brom. 3, Burnley play in a way that really, really favours Nick Pope in terms of the FPL bonus point system. Obviously, he's going to get save bonus, and he gets a lot of save bonus because Burnley concede a lot of shots, but those shots are often from outside of the box. They're often from difficult angles, which means he's got a good chance of saving them. He also does well for bonus because Burnley tend not to do a lot of passes around the back, which means that if Burnley keep a clean sheet, then those save points or those save bonus points that Nick Pope has accumulated often means he becomes top of Burnley's overall bonus point system, which means that he's likely to end up with 3 bonus points. All that together means that if Burnley keep a clean sheet, then Nick Pope is likely to get 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 points instead of just 6 points. If he does that he could conceivably do that over against Crystal Palace and Fulham. and then you're looking at a really, really big haul for a keeper. So for me, unfortunately he's difficult to get into my team, but I do think that Nick Pope he's probably one of the main double game week picks over this period. I think he's a fantastic option. Obviously, you've got other picks from Burnley, you know, the likes of Ben Mee and Tarkowski, I think are decent options. I brought Mee into my team last game week in preparation for these upcoming fixtures. I do think that he's a good shout. Personally, I wouldn't be looking at their midfield or strike force. One, because they don't score a lot of goals. But two, because you don't really know where those goals are going to come from. They don't really have sort of a talismanic player. In the past, that has been Woods. Occasionally, it's been Barnes. But they just don't seem to be quite doing it this year. So there's some midfield options that you could look at. But it's really difficult to know who's going to score those points, where those points are going to come from. Obviously, you could take a punt. But for me, I'm not looking at their forwards or their midfield options. Okay, so the fourth and final team that has a double game week in 24 is, of course, Fulham. Now, there are actually a few half-decent options for Fulham, especially in their midfield. So, this is sorted over the last 6 game weeks for midfielders under 7 million by shots. And as you can see, after Gundogan, Fulham have 3 players. So, 3 of the top 4 midfielders for under 7 million for total shots are Fulham players. You've got Lookman, you've got Loftus-Cheek, and you've got Cavaliero there. So I do think there are, you know, if you want to take a cheeky punt on one of these, I think there is potential. For me, I think the pick of the bunch is probably Lookman. I think that, you know, he's obviously the cheapest, but also he just looks the most threatening. He looks the most likely to get goals. Cavaliero, obviously, you know, he's a decent option, but I'm just not convinced when he takes a shot. He never looks like he's going to score. He always looks a little bit unsure in front of goal. And the same really for Loftus-Cheek. You know, I think that they could come good and they could score well. But for me, I think if I was choosing one of them, I'd probably go for Lookman. Okay, so just looking a little bit further ahead. In Game Week 25 then, not going to go into great detail here, but I think it is worth flagging Southampton just because they've got double game in 25, possible double game week in 26, and a likely double game week in 27. They've got some fixtures to play. I do think that Danny Ings is looking good. Vestergaard is looking good at the back. Again, not a player to transfer in this game week, but just worth keeping an eye on for game week 25. Obviously, Leeds also have the double game week in 25. Not going to go into great detail around their assets. You know, you're looking at Bamford and Dallas and Rafinha and Rodrigo, all good options. There are, of course, other teams, other players that you should also consider. I'm not going to go into great detail around those. I think the main thing here is just having a look at your team and making sure that you have a plan, you have a strategy over this period of, you know, what chips you're going to play, what transfers are you going to make, whether, as I said, whether that's sort of old school, writing down on a bit of pen and paper, or using a tool such as Ben Crellin's Planner, link in the description. Whether, you know, whatever of those sort of methods that you choose, I think you've got to have a plan, you've got to have a strategy. As we get more fixtures announced, I will, of course, be covering all the double game week fixtures, all the double game week players that we should be targeting for, you know, 25 and 26 and 27 when all those stuff is announced. So please do subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If this video has helped you out, then please do like. It really does help the channel out. We're trying to get to 40,000 subscribers. So yeah, if you just hit that subscribe button, it would really, really appreciate it. I will, of course, be doing my own team reveal video later in the game week with my team, my transfers, and my captaincy thoughts around game week 24. So if you're interested in that, please do check that one out as well. But otherwise, bye for now.